This will be one of the last times we talk about all of these decks in one video. I have one more fun video planned, but we'll get to that later. These are the top 15 best Pokemon card decks for the month of March 2025. And I know rotation is about to hit us in April, so enjoy the last couple of weeks you guys have left with all of these decks. And that said, for the comment question of the day, I want to know in the comments, what decks or cards are you going to miss the most? Let me know and I'll chop it up with you guys down there. And of course, if you guys want to buy Pokemon cards, check out the friends over at comfyhobbies.com and use code SneakerTalk to save 5% off. Let's get into the top 15. Coming in at 15, we got Regidrago V-Star, a deck that has fallen from greatness. Ever since Budew came out, it has taken a nosedive to the bottom of this list. It's still on the list though at 15, but the list you guys are looking at here got 9th place in a world where it looks like there was just so many Budews set up against it. It was so close to cracking the top 8 at Vancouver Regionals, but unfortunately couldn't quite get there. I, for one, am going to miss seeing this deck as I had a great time fighting it with my Miraidon EX. However, I'm sure a lot of people are excited to see it leave along with all of the V-Star Pokemon out there as well, so we can get onto this EX's only kind of era, and we have the upcoming Mega Pokemon too. Coming in at 14 is another deck that's fallen from greatness. It used to be best deck in format at one point or another. We're talking about Charizard EX, and this is another deck that has definitely taken a nosedive in the meta ever since the awakening, the birth of Budew, because of course item cards such as Rare Candy are quite important for Charizard. Now, Charizard also is going to take quite a hit come post-rotation because it's losing a bunch of strong cards in the list like Rotom V, Lumineon, Forest Heal Stone, all that, you know, that combo where you Arvin, you get your Seal Stone, your Nest Ball, your Rick, whatever you need. You can't do that anymore. So Charizard players are definitely going to have to adapt. Now, is Charizard going to be super meta when it comes to the new format? I don't think so. However, Charizard is just inherently a very, very strong Pokemon, you know, having built-in acceleration for their energy, plus great HP, plus high damage output that scales the longer the game goes on as more Pokemon get knocked out. I feel like that Charizard is always going to be at least a Pokemon people are going to have to be aware about, but it's not going to be probably in the top 5 or anything like that. I'm also very curious to see what direction Charizard players tend to go, what their ace spec is going to be. Coming in at 13 is a deck I'm sure a lot of you guys are excited to see disappear forever. It's going to be gone. A lot of people hate players who play this deck. A lot of people who play this deck don't have too many friends, I'll be honest with you, and if they did have friends, they quickly lose them. You guessed it, we're talking about Snorlax Control. Yeah, Blocklax is leaving, and there's not a card or a deck that is going to be a simple replacement for this. This is a deck that gets a lot of hate because it's a deck that denies your opponent from playing and making simple actions such as retreating and eventually not being able to attack. Control decks are known for controlling certain elements, but for a lot of people, this deck was just so unhealthy and toxic for the game because it kind of goes against the fun of Pokemon, of attacking and declaring attacks and doing different, you know, just I feel like you guys should be with me on this one. So good riddance, Snorlax. Now, I didn't mind seeing them every now and then at locals because they would just farm Charizard players and other decks out there, which I didn't necessarily want to see as Miraidon. But as a Miraidon player, I didn't have that horrible of a time going into Snorlax. It was kind of like a 50-50. Goodbye, Snorlax, and I'm sure there's going to be a lot of control players sad that it's going, but I'm sure they're just going to pick a new evil, toxic, diabolical deck come the new format. Coming in at number 12 is a deck that is going to be actually in the top tier come post-rotation. It's a deck that was actually quite strong and very, very popular all throughout the last couple of months, even the last year. It was a deck that really got like pooped on by a lot of top players, by a lot of players in general, for being too linear. It won, I believe, just like one regional total, but that was also by a top player as well. We are talking about Raging Bolt, and Raging Bolt is a deck that's also going to take a hit as well come rotation. It's losing some key cards like Pokestop, there's Trekking Shoes people also are going to miss. Now, Raging Bolt is known as like a turbo deck, but when it comes to post-rotation, it's looking like it's going to be more of a fun deck that has a higher skill ceiling because it's going to be paired with cards like Noctowl, the Noctowl engine, for example. So I am very excited to see how Raging Bolt performs in the North American or just international scene. I know that it's doing really well in some places, but it's definitely underperforming right now in the current meta. On to number 11. This is a deck that really saw its stride, its takeoff in the last couple of months. It really dominated a lot in Toronto. It was really popular there, and it actually won and took first place at EUIC 2025 by a Japanese player too. This is Terapagos EX with Friends, aka Terapagos Cloth, and this list was played by Ryuki Okada. Now this deck really picked up in popularity because of its insane donk potential. Being able to win the game before your opponent even starts sounds very, very diabolical with the help of Pecharunt and of course the Brute Bonnet and Capsule package. But now we also have Badoo in here too, and Badoo means you're able to item lock and also swing for some pretty solid numbers for a no energy attack cost. This deck does lose Radiant Sneasler. There's a pretty big nerf, a pretty big hit that this deck does take. It's going to lose double turbo energy, which is, you know, the lifeblood of being able to attack with Terapagos EX. We also lose Oranguru V in this list too, and Oranguru V was probably like the backbone, like the brains behind this deck. You are just able to get so much done with the Oranguru V in the active. Getting 2 tools is insane, including the Forest Seal Stone. So yeah, now that I really think about it, this deck does get nerfed pretty hard, but Terapagos is just a really strong Pokemon, and when you pair it with, you know, other cards out there like the Trumpet, the Crystal Trumpet or whatever that accelerates energies, and other attackers out there, Terapagos box, I don't think it's gonna fully fall off, but it definitely, this version of the deck definitely does take a big hit. Alright, let's get to the top 10 meta decks now. Coming in at number 10 is a deck that is going to be rotating out of the game. There's nothing we can do to stop it. We are going to lose the Lost Zone engine completely once Comfey does rotate. Go ahead, get your last flower selectings in, get those Mirage Gates popping. If you enjoyed this migraine-inducing deck that a lot of highly skilled players like to pilot and put themselves through a lot of pain, this is the deck for you. Or this will be a deck that I'm happy to see goes, honestly. The list you're looking at here got 20th place by a Toronto local as well. Shout out Simon Wong, who got 20th place at the Vancouver Regionals. Lost Box fell off in popularity big time once Kyurem was introduced to the game. This deck really got to see its last legs at the end of this format because of the help of Pikachu EX. We also have Regigigas as well to help deal with those Terra-type Pokemon like Dragapult EX, and the list goes on. Blood Moon Ursaluna EX was also a great addition as well. And just the fact that this deck was able to take advantage of Lightning Energy, not just for Iron Hands EX, but also for Pikachu EX, really allowed this deck to pop off. Now, one thing I am quite excited about is I'm no longer going to have to see players take 20 or 30 second flower selectings. Those were just painful and miserable to sit through. Coming in at number 9 is a deck that I really want to play. We got Surledge EX. The list you're looking at here got 14th place by Victor Frietas and 9th place by Marco Antonio Silva de Mercado Mota at the Fortaleza Regional Tournament. Surledge is definitely a deck that takes quite a big beating come rotation, because one of the best ways you can play this deck is with the help of Palkia V-Star. And of course, we're losing a really big thing for its energy acceleration to the discard pile, Radiant Greninja. Once that's rotating along with Pokestop, it's gonna look like a pretty tough time for Surledge players. Now who knows, maybe this deck can pop off if there's the right players building it and having some fun with it, because it is a really cool turbo deck, and it means we're gonna have more room for other cards like Briar that could be reintroduced into this list. Maybe we go all in on more of a Carmine heavy list that really wants to go first, if we're in a format that really wants to go second, if you're a Surledge player who really wants to go first with the help of Carmine as well, Surledge might shape up to be a very strong anti-meta pick. Coming in 8th place, we have a control style deck, and this is a deck that is not going to necessarily disappear anytime soon, but I definitely see it not being very popular at the start of the new format, and that is Pidgeot EX. The list you're looking at right here was played by Aban Ahmed, who got 8th place at the Vancouver Regionals. I believe Aban is also a subscriber of the channel as well. I think I met him last year at Vancouver Regionals. This is a deck that is honestly a deck builder's kind of dream come true. You have so many one-off copies in this list that you really have to pick and choose and build this deck from the ground up for how you think the meta is going to flesh out. The whole premise of this deck is you have Pidgeot EX, and you're going to use your quick search ability every single turn to give you that exact toxic or perfect setup card you need to help run down or basically chill and lock your opponent out of playing the game that they want to play. And so if we have a super diverse meta, it is a little harder for Pidgeot EX players to really fine-tune the deck and counter how they want to. But if we do have a pretty well established like top S tier, A tier meta, then Pidgeot EX players are definitely going to be having an easier time trying to rebuild this deck and counter the meta accordingly. Now Pidgeot EX does lose some pretty important cards like Rotom V. We're losing a bunch of supporters as well like Irida, Silene, Thornton, the Double Turbo Energy, Forest Seal Stone. So there is a lot of hits that this deck does take. But again, Pidgeot EX is just one of those decks that is going to continue to evolve and change as the metas change as well. It's all going to just come down to, you know, how can these control players build it out to counter the meta for a specific big tournament. Coming in at 7th place is a deck that is really close to my heart. You guys know it, and it's Miraidon EX. This deck probably gets hit just as hard as those decks that are just completely rotating out because we lose so much to this rotation. Last rotation, we lost important cards like Flaffy for our energy acceleration. Well, now we have the Magneton line, so we have a new form of energy acceleration. However, the attackers we lose are a pretty big deal. We are going to be losing one of the best attackers in the game, Raikou V, and we're going to be losing one of our best one-shot options in the game, Raichu V. Force Seal Stone is also going to be gone, so we're going to lose that source of consistency, and Iron Hands EX gets a slight nerf as well because Double Turbo also is saying goodbye to us too. Now there are some replacements you could think of that do, you know, kind of take Raikou V's place and Raichu V's place. Just think about Pikachu EX, you know, it's a similar attack to Raichu V, however you just don't get to pick the exact amount of damage you're doing, but it's a big one-shot Pokemon, right? That can still be tandem unitable. Raikou V is also leaving us, but I believe there's a new Tapu Koko EX that also has just released in Journeys Together, so maybe it's going to take that spot, but losing Fleet-Footed, losing that highly scalable attack that can really just do a lot of damage real quick out of nowhere for such a cheap attack cost. We're losing that, and that was one of the best cards in the deck. And there's not going to be much reason to play Secret Box in Miraidon going forward, unless of course if you want to play Academy at night as a stadium, but I think we're going to go back to the all-reliable Prime Catcher Ace spec. That said, the list you guys are looking at right here was played by Caleb Gedimer and Azul Garcia Griego. They got 50th and 25th place respectively at Vancouver Regionals. Azul and Caleb decided to go for a Prime Catcher build, so I just wanted to showcase to you guys this list in anticipation for switching over to Prime Catcher Miraidon. We lose quite a few cards again, as I mentioned. We're going to be losing Rotom, we're going to be losing Raikou, Raichu, DTE, Force Seal Stone is a big one. Canceling Cologne leaving isn't that big of a deal, but Switch card's gone, so we're just going to have to switch back to regular switches. And Hisuian Heavy Ball is a pretty big nerf too, because this deck did really enjoy playing Heavy Ball because we had so many one-off attackers. So who knows how we're going to build Miraidon or rebuild Miraidon, but I'll be working on it. And of course I have to show you guys the best placing Miraidon from the most recent regional tournament, Vancouver Regionals, played by Caleb Rogerson. This list got 4th place in Vancouver, and Caleb also played it at EUIC, getting 44th, and Gabe Smart got 75th as well at EUIC with this list. And a lot of these cards you guys have seen in pretty much every Miraidon list out there, including my list as well, that on the channel that I posted a deck profile on and some gameplay. So check out my Miraidon content if you haven't yet so already. Coming in 6th place, we got a deck that Miraidon loves to eat up. We have Lugia V-Star. This is another deck that gets hit so hard by rotation that you can't even play it anymore. Because of course, Lugia is a V-Star Pokemon, and say goodbye to all V Pokemon. Lugia V-Star, it's dead in the water. Or dead in the air. I don't know, but it's gone. It's going to be gone and gone for good. This is a deck that has been also best deck in format for a long time. Think about the Amazing Rare era. Like there was a point where I think the meta share for this deck was like 30% or higher. Like it was so insane. It was like you either played Lugia or you played a deck that would kind of counter Lugia. And most people just preferred, like a lot of the top players were like, just play Lugia. First list you guys are looking at here was played by my homie Sergio Rodriguez, who got 41st place at EUIC 2025 in London. And another player, Kenan Mellard, actually played this exact 60 in Vancouver and got 29th. But here's the other list that was the best placing Lugia V-Star, played at the Vancouver Regionals, played by Joe Figliano, and Joe got 10th place. Now I really don't think there's going to be much to be said. We're losing Lugia here, and there's not going to necessarily be a replacement for it. We'll try and figure it out, you know, what kind of decks can take advantage of a bunch of special energies. That's going to be the deck, in theory, that would replace Lugia as a special energy style of deck. But we also lose a bunch of special energies too, like Gift Energy, Double Turbo Energy, and I highly doubt Legacy Energy is going to see much play without Lugia, but maybe we see some players put Legacy Energy in decks like Ceruledge EX. Coming in at 5th place is a turbo deck that I really enjoy. I used to play it quite a bit, and I'm looking forward to see how it changes going into rotation. We got Roaring Moon EX. I always looked at Roaring Moon EX as sort of like a dark Miraidon of some sort. Roaring Moon EX does take a pretty hard nerf as well. Real quick, I want to give a shout out to Emmett Hurley, who piloted this version of Roaring Moon EX at the Baltimore Regionals that got 3rd place, and most recently he brought back Roaring Moon again for the Vancouver Regionals. This is his adaptation for it then that got 71st place. But we have a new top Roaring Moon player at the end of the format, Lebui. His name reminds me of Lebu from Dynasty Warriors. Lebui. I'm sorry, Lee. I'm sorry. Anyways, taking a look at Lee's list, we do lose some really strong cards, of course, like Radiant Greninja. That's gone, so our sort of draw engine plus get those energies in the discard so we can Dark Patch them or Sada them is gone. We also lose Lumineon V, so we can't just instantly grab Sada. We lose Dark Patch. Dark Patch is a big loss for the deck. One of the best energy acceleration cards in the game. Checking Shoes is also taking an L. And Pokestop. No more Pokestop. That's gonna suck. Now, how is Roaring Moon going to pivot come rotation? Well, I could definitely see a world where maybe you don't play as many Roaring Moon EXs, since getting that 3 energy attack cost might be a little harder to do without this Dark Patch available. Maybe we see more baby Roaring Moons and more Ancient Booster Energy capsules to really lean in on the Roaring Moon baby form and the Koraidon as well. But there is still some great cards. You know, Professor Sada's Vitality is a very strong supporter card. Energy Acceleration plus Draw Engine in one card, looking good. We got Petron EX there as well for consistent just the ability to be able to throw in your dark type attacker of choice, whether it be baby Roaring Moon or the big Roaring Moon. And who knows, maybe we just, since we lose the dark patches, maybe we have to switch over to Pokemon cards like Energy Switch. That way we can just easily get Roaring Moon EX set up easier. But it's going to be fun to try and rebuild this deck. It's another deck like Miraidon where I'm looking forward to seeing how it's going to transition with this new format in mind. 4th place, this is a deck that I am genuinely looking forward to playing, and also playing alongside Hops Zacian, because it is Archelodon EX. Archelodon is a very strong deck. It's also quite strong into the top decks out there like Dragapult EX, and it just has its energy acceleration built into its main attacker. So whenever that's the case, you're looking at a at least solid B tier at a minimum deck that you can use. First list to share with you guys got 4th place at EUIC 2025 in London, played by Simone Fiorito. Sorry if I butchered your name. I did butcher your name, I'm sorry. This list does lose a couple of really strong cards, like the 2 Dialga Vs, the 2 Dialga V-Stars, along with the Radiant Greninja, Lumineon V, and Thornton. Next up, we have the 7th place list, played by Hiroshi Takeda at the Vancouver Regionals, which cut down the Dialga V-Star line to 1-1, and we still have the Radiant Greninja we're gonna miss, we still have that Thornton we're gonna miss, but we do have that Black Belt's training for some additional damage, because 220 isn't always enough sometimes. But we're still rocking the same ace spec, which is Scoop Up Cyclone, to basically steal turn of damage off the board from your opponent. Now again, I am really looking forward to playing Archelodon and pairing it with my Hops Zacian. However, that's more of a rogue kind of build. Hops Zacian isn't really seeing as much success as I would like it to see in Japan, which maybe it's for the best. Maybe I can be one of the players that really put it on the map. But if you don't want to play Hops Zacian, if you don't want to go rogue, just straight up regular Archelodon EX is going to be a very strong way to play the deck. It's going to be quite linear, so it's going to be harder for you to make misplays and screw up, because that's one thing I do a lot too. When there's too many available lines, I will just make the wrong decision 90% of the time, it feels like. But yeah, if you're looking to play a straightforward linear style of deck going into the next format, get your Archelodons now before the stonks go up. This is your last call. And of course, don't forget to buy your Pokemon cards from the homies over at Comfy Hobbies with code SneakerTalk for 5% off. Again, it's comfyhobbies.com, and the code works in-store and online. 3rd place, another Steel-type Pokemon, which is really dominating the meta right now, and is looking pretty well positioned come post-rotation 2, and that is Golden Go EX. So this deck has seen a lot of success ever since EUIC. A ton of top players rock this deck at that tournament. Here's a look at the list. We got Lucas Zing in here, Victor Ong, John Eng, Isaiah Bradner, Aban Ahmed, Grant Shen, Rahul Reddy, Xander Perot, they all popped off with this exact 60 card list at EUIC. Now this list you're looking at screen right now got second place at the Vancouver Regionals, piloted by Lucas Zing, another Toronto local as well, and Ryan Antonucci, another top player who is famously known for playing Gardevoir, got 72nd place. But yeah, Lucas Zing, Lucas, shout out to you, man. You popped off once again. Another big tournament for you. Golden Go EX is another very strong Pokemon for 3 different reasons. It is a stage 1 Pokemon, so it's easy to set up, evolving from a small little basic. It has a very strong ability, which is also a draw engine ability, and it has a very cheap attack cost, which in a sense is another form of energy acceleration. When the attack cost is so low, you don't have to put that many energies onto the board. You just gotta see them in your discard pile, and that's the same thing. Golden Go EX does lose a couple of cards come rotation. We're gonna be losing Radiant Greninja, we'll be losing the Roxanne, we'll be losing Pokestop. But other than that, this deck really doesn't take too much of a hit come post rotation. So if you're a Golden Go believer now, you're probably going to be a Golden Go believer come post rotation. I also think that Golden Go has one of the best attack names in the game. Make It Rain. It's just gold. It's gold. Number 2 is another deck that's getting nerfed really hard come rotation. A lot of players are basically saying goodbye to the deck once rotation hits. However, there are some believers for Gardevoir EX out there that are still trying to make it happen with the help of Brilliant Blender as the A-Spec from what I've been seeing in Japanese tournament results. So our number 2 deck is Gardevoir EX, and I have a couple of different lists to share with you guys for this video. First, I want to show you guys a kind of classic unfair stamp version of the deck that was played by local here in Toronto, Dennis Paroff, who got 18th place at the Vancouver Regionals this year, and actually got 2nd place in Vancouver last year. Gardevoir doesn't really lose too much come rotation, but the card it does lose is one of the best cards in the game, that is Kirlia with the refinement ability. So we're going to be seeing Gardevoir players have to learn to adapt without one of the best cards in the deck, similar to how, you know, Miraidons had to pivot without Flaffy, or how we're gonna have to learn how to pivot without our main attackers in the deck. So yeah, there's your look at the unfair stamp Gardevoir EX played by Dennis Paroff, who got 18th place. Next up, we have a Heroes Cape build that was played by Piper Lapine, who got 13th place at Vancouver Regionals. Then the last build of Gardevoir I want to show you guys is the Hyper Aroma version that Makani Tran actually played to get 11th place at Vancouver Regionals. I want to give a huge shout out to Makani because he really did pop off with the deck building on this one. Having Hyper Aroma in here and the Radiant Alakazam are some cards that you don't really see too often in Gardevoir. So it's really cool to see this kind of deck really pop off at Vancouver. And now on to the number 1 best deck in format right now, and it's a deck that's going to continue to live and be very strong come post rotation. You guessed it, we're talking about Dragapult EX. 3 different versions of Dragapult EX to share with you guys right now, which you guys can rock with and practice before rotation hits. Dragapult does get a pretty big hit come rotation in terms of the cards that it loses, but just Dragapult is such a good deck. You know, you have a strong attacker with a cheap attack cost that does spread damage, evolving from a 1 prize Pokemon, Dracloak, which also is a draw engine as well. So I feel like a lot of Gardevoir players are going to switch over to Dragapult EX just in terms of, you know, the play style that it is. And it's just very strong. It's a top tier deck. A lot of top tier players would play Gardevoir, so I would expect a lot of those players that will just play like the best decks or the top tier decks are going to switch over to Dragapult, no problem. It's also very safe. It's also going to be very cheap to play Dragapult. You're not going to be needing to buy a lot of new cards from Journeys Together, which is really nice. And there's going to be a starter deck releasing for the deck as well from the Pokemon Company. So if you're struggling to find the singles, you just straight up just buy the starter deck and you're good to go. Quickly, here is Natalie Miller's 2nd place list from EUIC. She is a top player from the Oceania region in Australia. One of the best players, I want to say, in that region. The next list to share with you guys got 1st place at the Vancouver Regionals, piloted by Andrew Hedrick. And not only that, Andrew actually got 114th place at EUIC with this exact 60, but this exact 60 also got 2nd place in the Seniors Division, played by Justin T, who also got 7th place at EUIC in the Seniors Division, and Carson W also got 4th place in the Seniors Division with the same 60 as well. So this exact 60 is a powerhouse list for Dragapult Dusknoir. If you want to play it, probably is the best way to play Dragapult Dust Noir at the moment. And then last but not least, we have the Fernandez brothers list to share with you guys. Gabriel and Vinny Fernandez. Gabriel's the best seniors division player we have at the moment, and he got first place in EUIC seniors division. And then his brother Vinny Fernandez also used this exact 60 to get first place in the masters division at the Fortaleza regional tournament. And I think Gabriel also got first place in the seniors division as well with this list. And Vinny also got 5th place at EUIC with this list as well. This is a really unique non-Dust Noir build, which has Monkey Dory in here instead, along with Blood Moon Ursaluna, double Lumineon V. So this is just another really strong way to play Dragapult EX without relying on the Duskull Dust Noir build. If you made it to the end of the video, hit that like button down below. I would really appreciate it. We got a bunch of post-rotation content on the channel coming out soon. Click on screen to watch another video, maybe a regional vlog or a Japan vlog. And of course, check out comfyhobbies.com with code SneakerTalk for 5% off. I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out.